I think Nvidia is undervalued.
What?
Undervalued.
On what basis?
In this video, I will show you why Nvidia will reach $1,000 in stock price in just 2 years, and I will prove you that this is possible. If you don't know me, my name is Danny. I bought Tesla stock when it was $18. Now it's $250. And who is laughing now? Well, apparently this guy, Elon Musk, because I didn't hold till the end. But usually it's not about the one investment that you do. It's about the investments that you always see doing very well. And nothing is currently beating Nvidia, right? If you're looking to this graph here, you see that 166% this year on a return of investment for Nvidia, with huge number one beating number two, because number two would be with 66% Meta, and then also Broadcom, Avgo with 60%, then Eli Lilly with the injection for, and I don't know if they have already pills, but injection for losing weight, also a very innovative product. And then all the other stocks that are out there, Amazon, Google, Apple, they made even less than the S&P 500, which is currently sitting at 30% return of investment for 2024. Now, look at Masa-san. Masa-san is the founder and CEO of the SoftBank, okay, in Japan. They're the best and, biggest tech investors out there. And look what he said in this little clip in the recent Saudi conference about future investing and specifically about Nvidia.
So I think Nvidia is undervalued.
What?
Undervalued.
On what basis?
Because the future is much bigger.
But the market's concentrating, as we heard in a panel earlier. It's quarterly reports. It's, if Nvidia tells us that it's going to be longer and slower, we all get...
Yeah. Nvidia is just one example.
Right.
Okay? What about the total, Gen AI future? What is the value of the future? Is this a bubble today or not? Okay? Some critics, the most negative guy says, this AGI, ASI, in 10 years, maybe only 5% is actually useful or, replacing people's job, but 95% still the same, no change. It takes time. So I say, okay, let's accept the most negative critics' view. That is only 5% change, 95% unchanged. But what is that, ASI investment required to take? Okay, 10,000 smarter than mankind. How many gigawatts? We were talking about gigawatts just before me.
Yeah.
I have predicted it will take 400 gigawatts of AI data centers power. 400 gigawatts. That's bigger than total US electricity. And it will require 200 million chip. Okay? The cumulative capex, $9 trillion. $9 trillion. How do you recoup? It's too much investment for many people's view. I say it's still very reasonable capex. $9 trillion is not too big, maybe too small.
So as you can see here, actually, he told you that think about the investment in AI in investments of governments. If we only can increase 5% more of GDP, not ChatGPT, but GDP of a country, so the all income and revenue of a country, then a multi-trillion-dollar investment is rather worth it. Right? And that's why number one hardware is still being bought in the next couple of years. I think if you think that governments will start to purchase also the chips of Nvidia, then you will see a crazy run of the chips. Because currently, if we are looking into biggest clients of Nvidia, then you actually see that the biggest clients so far are Microsoft, Cisco, Tesla, HP. But I think the biggest buyers are actually the big 4 or 5, FANG stocks, right? So you have Microsoft, Meta, Google, Amazon, and so on. And if you're going into the transcription of the recent earnings of those companies, you will actually see that they all mention Nvidia. So if they all mention Nvidia, if they all will increase their spending in AI chips, then where they will go? Exactly, they will go to Nvidia. Like, for example, I will show you just an example. If you go to the earnings call transcript of Amazon Q3 of 2024, you will see that he actually said and mentioned Nvidia. Here it is. We talk about AI offering as 3 macro layers of the stack. At the bottom layer, which is for model builders, we were the first major cloud provider to offer Nvidia's H200 GPU through EC2 P5 instances. And thanks to our networking innovations like Elastic Fabric, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Nvidia. And actually, they mentioned something very important about demand. That primarily relates to AWS as we invest to support demand for our AI services while also including technology infrastructure to support our North America. And additionally, we continue to invest in our fulfillment, transportation network, and so on. So, as you can see, the most important is to cater this big demand of AI that is out there, okay? But I want to go into something different, okay? We know that there is demand. We know that NVIDIA is the number 1 chip provider out there. So what will bring actually NVIDIA to a $1,000 stock price? And without going like crazy calculations, just very simple, old school fundamentals. Let's go into my ChatGPT, okay? Because I'm using ChatGPT for really a lot of investing stuff. I can really recommend it, like invest into the $20, whatever. And if you're going to ChatGPT, I actually prepared something, okay? So I created this table here with a couple of years. So you see like the difference between those, where I have, for example, here, the year 2017, you have Meta platforms, you have Tesla, Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Shopify. I will explain you why, okay? Then you have the PE ratios, right? So 32, 18 for Apple, Nvidia was at 50, PS ratio, the stock price towards the revenue or compared the ratio to the revenue. Then also the revenue growth for the company and also the federal interest rates. Okay, so as you can see, 2017, our interest rates were low and the craziness after COVID was building up, right? So you can see here that the highest PE ratios was by a company, Shopify, that actually had the revenue growth of more than 100%. So it's obvious, right? So people see high growth, they put a lot of money into the company becomes a growth stock, and valuations are more flexible to the upside. So the PE ratio is very high. If you look at Nvidia, Microsoft, Alphabet, and everything, all of those, they didn't have really a big, let's say, PE ratio because they were not growing that much, right? Fast forward 2018, you see that, for example, Tesla was growing very, very high. And you will see that they were not profitable until 2020, where then, why they became profitable, they got a really high PE ratio, okay? And it was justified because it's future, they have like a crazy revenue growth. And then you can see there were always companies like in 2019, Zoom, that had a PE ratio very high of 100 because they had like a high revenue growth. But as you can see, Nvidia didn't have really revenue growth in 2019, in 2020 a little bit with 50%. And then in 2021, they started to have like 61%, right? 2022, they had even a almost zero revenue growth, right? And this was the point where they were at the 50 PE ratio, right? And look where they are now. PE ratio of 50, we are now only at 63. So I believe that Nvidia is tremendously undervalued if you then look into what usually happens with those companies like Snowflake, like Palantir, all of these companies that had like a very high revenue growth year over year, 100% plus, they had a PE ratio of minimum 200 or 100, okay? Or even in the case of Tesla with very, very low federal rates of even 1,000, right? And somehow it was justified, right? There was always this discussion, is it a software company or is it a freaking car company, right? But you can see even here in 2021, we had like a 350 PE ratio of Tesla. Now let's look into 2022. So 2022, Nvidia started to run, and they run tremendously, right? So you can see in 2023, they had a revenue growth of 125, but still the PE ratio didn't change. So you can see here that the stock slowly growed, but it's still the growth of revenue and earnings was so big that they still at the PE ratio that is 63. And if you're thinking anywhere that it can be a little bit more crazy, that they can show us more revenue growth, like for example, look at last year. Why CrowdStrike has like a more than double, almost triple PE ratio than Nvidia, while Nvidia has the bigger revenue growth. And look into the 2024 number, it will get even crazier. I think this is not properly shown here. I think it is a little bit because I texted back and forth with ChatGPT here. Sometimes, you have to be a little bit more harsh with those chatbots here. But I think it was, let me see here. Nvidia in 2024 had a revenue growth of 194. If you go back to the list, none of those companies that was high in PE ratio had this kind of growth numbers, okay? None of them. None of them were past 200% in revenue growth. Nvidia is. So I believe that we should have a minimum, in this case, in this very, very unique case, that it's the best product out there. The company is just confirmed in the earnings that they invest into Nvidia, that it's a tremendous partner, and that, it's growing like crazy and demand is insane, like Jensen said many, many times. I think that this is way undervalued. I think like Nvidia should have like a PE ratio of like 200 basis points, right? So PE should be like 3 times or 4 times as high. That means that now the stock should be not at 140, but it should be somewhere around like 560. Okay, this is just my opinion. And if you can see, usually PE ratios go also higher as the federal rates are lower, right? So you can see here in 2017, we had low rates. Then we had like very low rates. And this is where the PE ratios were the highest, right? Like Nvidia had like a PE ratio of 90, DocuSign 200, right? Apple had 35. So Tesla in 2021 had 350. So you can see here the PE ratios go higher as the rates are going lower. And we are now at very, very high federal rates. So as those go lower, right, we were at like 5.3. Now we're going to 4.5, 3. And so we go lower. So more money comes to the equities and PE ratios going higher. When I look into the next big thing, you always can say, oh, I missed it. But if you think about the Nvidia story, just started really with ChatGPT. Because if we are looking for Nvidia, you will see on the 5 years chart that the big run was somewhere around 2022. And then you think like, did something happen at 2022? Yes, ChatGTP. I'm sure you're making this mistake always as well. Was actually released in November of 2022. And I think this is when the first people saw, wow, this is something big. If we can ask an artificial intelligence anything to do anything for us, this can become huge. And this was the first consumer product that was brought out there. And Nvidia is the main supplier of the best chips out there, okay? GPUs are the best things out there, specifically Nvidia GPUs are the best things. You need to have those things to actually power AI. And if AI will solve all our problems, then this is just getting started, okay? This is like investing in Tesla in 2018 or 2019 when they just brought out the Model 3 for mass manufacturing, okay? And then you see that from 2022, we had this insane run of 826%. And I think that if we are looking into the $1,000 stock mark for Nvidia, 1,000 divided by the 140 right now, that's a sevenfold from here. And actually, Nvidia has a market cap of $3.3 trillion. That means that we will have a $21 trillion company in 2 years. And I think that this is very important, guys. I think, if Nvidia then can just maintain a similar 100, even if they halve the revenue growth to 100%, I still think we can reach a $1,000 dollar stock with Nvidia in just like the next 2 years. Easy. And I mean, the numbers are there. It's like easy. It's like very easy to see, right? So I hope you like this video. Subscribe. If you want to receive all my day trades all automatically, we have like a software that I put personally $1 million into it. You can check out the link in the description. Subscribe and like and ring the bell, and then leave a comment what you think where the stock will be in 2 years, and I see you in the next video.